Whiteboard Wednesday, everybody. Let's go straight to the jingle.
Here we are, we're at the board. Whiteboard Wednesday is here once more. We'll have some fun, we'll use some pens, spending time with our friends.
Woo, it's a beauty. I know the audio is not very good, but you know, the best videos are the low resolution videos on TikTok and YouTube, and I feel as though the best jingles are the poor sound quality jingles. That's not true. Come to another Whiteboard Wednesday. It's nice to have you here. Thank you to our sponsor, Jimmy Stutz, Ryan Class, the whole crew down there at Dippin' Flavors. They're just down the road down here in St. Louis, Missouri, but they ship ice cream flavors, toppings, fudges, anything that goes on ice cream or in ice cream to flavor it. They sell it. Prices landed at your door. Dippinflavors.com. They're probably very embarrassed to kind of have their name associated with the dance, but Jim's pretty easygoing. I think he'll be okay. Today we are talking about a subject that actually I deal with nearly every single day. It's the bridge between someone who has basically got their ice cream making at home to the point where they want to actually take the next step and open up a facility, start selling commercially, really kind of get some legs on this business. Our bridge is in the middle here, but let's say most of our people start off with the, here they're at home and here's our ice cream maker, and they've got, you know, maybe one of those freezer bowl ice cream makers. Maybe it's one with a little compressor in it like a Cuisinart, and they're kind of developing flavors, and they're also using their stove top. So right next to them they've got a stove top here, and their semi-pasteurizing mix. You've got your milk, cream, eggs, a little bit of sugar. You might throw in some of the other things, and you've basically created this product that everybody starts to like. And at first it might have been just for you and your own enjoyment, and then the kids' friends come over and they're sitting around the table over here. Let's take the bird's eye view. So they're all sitting around the table, and one of your kids says, "Hey Dad, you should get the ice cream out that you made yesterday." And you bring it. "Oh, this is fantastic, this is fantastic." And one of these kids goes home and says, "Hey Dad, Mr. Smith make ice cream. I think I'd like some of that for my birthday party." Well, let's talk to Mr. Smith and see if he can get it for us. Next thing, you're making ice cream in more batches for a kid's birthday party that's got, you know, 12, 20 kids. I was just told I need to add a party hat. Party hats. Party hats. Party hats all around. Okay, so a parent at the party says, "Hey, this ice cream is fantastic." You make it often, you tell them the story. You're saying, "Hey, my daughter's getting married. You think you could make ice cream? I'm happy to give you some money for it." And you're thinking, absolutely. So now you're kind of doing some more events here where it's dun, 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 dun. You may kiss the bride. Dun, 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 and, and the priest is here. You're supplying ice cream, and now you're thinking, maybe I should get some sort of little kind of cart, or maybe I should buy a little freezer to take it in. So you start doing these kind of little catering things. You're still making your mix from home, and you've got some mechanism where you're kind of rolling a cart in and you're scooping some ice cream or pre-portioning it. And all of these people basically validate your concept. They validate your flavor process, and they're saying, "This is awesome." And now you're starting to think, I can now kind of put some effort into this to see if I can start selling this in the marketplace. This is where you hit the bridge. There's a bridge between where you are right here and where you need to be for retail or wholesale or markets or food trucks. Because that's really the most common mechanism that people go from making home to kind of getting their feet wet in the sales process. So a couple of things that you'll need to basically look at here in order to make that gap, make that bridge, cross that bridge. The first one is a facility. You cannot keep making your ice cream in your home because the health department just will not allow you to do that. You're going to have somewhere where you can then start to make your ice cream, that you've got the safety umbrella of a food safety inspection. So if you start looking at a food truck, if you start looking at the markets, they're going to say, well, you'll need to provide the food safety certificate as to where you're making this. I do know people that have that given to their own home. I do not think you want the health department, the government departments in your house. So you may want to look at somewhere at least that's got a health and safety certificate, food safety, food processing certificate. It's probably a commercial kitchen, but it may also be a bakery or somewhere else that's willing to lease some space to you in the evenings when they're not using it. A couple of different options there. So facility is the first one. The second one is your mix. And I know what you're saying. You're saying, Steve, I already have a mix. I've got this beautiful stovetop mix here that it's kind of got me up to this point here, and everyone seems to be very happy with it. I want to stick with that mix. Well, basically, in the short answer is you actually can't stick with that mix. If you're going to provide your own mix, you're going to have records now of pasteurization. And most counties and states are very, very specific as to who can pasteurize and who cannot. Now, you may be saying back to me, well, Steve, at the restaurant that I go to, the chef out the back's just using a stovetop. Yeah, that's a little bit different. He's been culinarily trained. It's small batch. It's not retail sales. They're selling within their establishment. There's a food safety blanket over there because of their inspections. So that's not the same. So you're going to have to either figure out how to make your mix, which is going to be very complicated, or you're going to have to go to a dairy mix company or a local dairy or producer and say, hey, can you make this mix? Now, a couple of things. What I find when people are making ice cream at home, their egg content is way too high. So you might have 3 or 4 egg yolks in this 1 quart of mix that you're making at the stovetop at home. The FDA standard of identity basically says that most frozen custards, New York vanilla, French vanilla ice cream, those that contain eggs, need to have around about 1.4% of that recipe of eggs in there. And often when you're making ice cream at home, that ratio is almost like 7%, 8%, 10%. So you need to way come down on the eggs. You've got to look at sugar, you've got to look at a balanced formula, and you're going to have to look at some sort of stabilizer that's going to give you longevity. You don't want people buying your product at the markets, taking it home, and the next day, because it doesn't have any stabilizer in it, it's all icy and crunchy. So your mix is something you're going to have to talk about. And then the third is your equipment. And really what we're talking about is a batch freezer. You can talk about dipping cabinets and different things, but a batch freezer. Because maybe you're using, again, this kind of small Cuisinart at home. Maybe you're using a little bit more ramped up, like a Musso machine. And they're great machines for small batches. But now you're going to have to start making larger batches. You really want to make sure that you've got the amount of time that you need. So you need a machine that might be a 10 quart, an 8 quart, a 12 quart batch freezer in order to do that. And unfortunately, on the equipment side of things, there's not a lot of options that are an easy bridge to cross. You may have paid $200 for this Cuisinart. If you were to buy a new batch freezer that is maybe countertop, maybe 4 quarts, 6 quarts, you may be looking somewhere around the $12,000 mark. Now, there are options, obviously, and you can kind of look around on the used market, talk to some distributors, look for display models and different things. But that's the bridge that you're going to have to cross. And it really means that when you get to the point here where you've got to start putting some time and effort and resources into your concept, that's when most people kind of hit the wall and say, well, it was fun while it lasted, and maybe I'll just keep making it for at home. But the others who push through that wall and say, well, no, I'm going to actually find a shared kitchen space here, and I'm going to talk to the local dairy down the road or my local mix company or a mix company in another state and say, well, how much is it going to cost me to make a specific mix for me rather than an off-the-shelf mix that you already make? I personally believe that buying off-the-shelf mixes or standardized mixes are just as good as some of the things that you'll come up with. And then how are you going to make it? What sort of equipment are you going to have? Blast freezer, batch freezer, you know, that kind of thing. So, you know, it is a challenge, but what I tell a lot of people is if it was easy, everyone would be doing it. and obviously everyone isn't doing it, they'll get to this point here and say, well, it's a little bit difficult, too much time, money, I've got a full-time job, young family, maybe I'll put that off for another 5, 10, 15 years. So this is the bridge: facility, mix, and equipment. I'd be interested in your experiences. I know a lot of people who watch these videos are already in the business, but there's a big chunk of people who are transitioning from this home environment over to wanting to get into retail, wholesale, food trucks, markets, growing their concept, and are right in the middle of this trench here, trying to kind of wade their way through. It's not an easy wade. There's some expenses that are obviously going to be incurred, but we at Scoop School are here to help you with the process. So if you have any questions, again, looking at methods, looking at your specific concept, we do classes, we do consulting. We're happy to help you cross that bridge, but there is some cost and expense and effort to it, like there is with anything that's worthwhile. I feel as though we should end on a good note. Well, the good note is, once you cross that bridge and you've invested here, then you can make all the different ice creams you want, get it out to different channels, and you can be very, very comfortable knowing that this little concept that you started in your kitchen is now sold in Whole Foods across the tri-state area. Thank you to Dippin' Flavors. Link is down below. Please subscribe, leave a comment. Thank you for tuning in. Keep on scooping. See you in the next video.